If it was a dream match, I'd love to wrestle someone like Ricochet because I loved working with guys who had a style contrary to mine, which is part of the reason Shawn Michaels was like a dream come true. And Ricochet is small enough to where I could do big guy stuff. You know what I mean? And I just, I would just love to think of ways to ground him and then make the flying, really mean as much as possible. And I'm not just saying this because he runs the place, but it was a case of me working a match in my current state. Then I know I could still have a good match with Triple H because he could work around my weaknesses. I could, yeah. So,
do you,
what?
Does that, so you want to have a 40-minute match? Is that what you're saying?
But we did that. One of the highlight, not one of the highlight of my tenure as general manager was cutting the promo where with Stephanie, where I said if I had to fire anyone, it would be her. Triple H came out, cut the promo on me, and then he ordered me out of his ring. And we didn't know. Sometimes you don't know how people are going to react, And Michael Hayes pitched to me like you're going to walk away like Willie Loman, who was in a play called Death of a Salesman. Walk away just hurt, and beleaguered. And then I just looked down, just reached in and just pulled out that little bit of the sock, and the little section of the audience could see it just went crazy, And, Triple H and Stephanie acted like the applause was for them, and the sock came up there. And the funny thing is, there's no low blows anymore, right? So people don't just naturally know how to give a low blow, right? I was the first person that Stephanie ever slapped, right? So I'd be so proud if she went on to make that her thing, When I was a commissioner in 1990 and she had to slap me, I was like, Stephanie, you can slap me as hard as you want. Just hit me with your fingers and not your palm, and don't hit me in the eardrum. And then it's easy. It's like me with Sheamus. I can hit him as hard as I want, right? So now it comes to a low blow, and Stephanie hasn't given a low blow in like 10 years. And I was like, you only get one shot. Okay, you want to know the secret of the low blow is? You can hit someone as hard as you want, as long as the contact point is between the guys and the butthole. If you can make contact with that little bit of space there, it's often known as the taint. So it was a dramatic uppercut to the Foley taint. And it was just done with great ferocity. It looked great. You only have one angle, and it was good stuff. And as fate had it, a huge snowstorm was hitting Detroit that night. And for only like one of 3 or 4 times in my entire career, I got a lift home on the McMahon jet, the WWE jet. And otherwise I would have been grounded and left stranded in Detroit for an additional 2 days. I remember being on that plane and just really enjoying a certain glow that I hadn't had in a long time. It was the one thing I had missed about wrestling, was that post-match glow where you feel like you've accomplished something and you just want to celebrate it with the people who were part of it. So on that certain night, I'm going to segue here into something about the Undertaker that I haven't talked about. And in the entirety of my 20 years tour, I never talked about this. So I didn't remember a lot of it, and I had to be pieced back together. But Taker and I were good friends on the road in 1990, and I never rode with him once. From '96 on, never rode with the Undertaker, never stayed with him again. By some means, in his words, that night in Austin, Texas, when he arrived at my show, he said, Mick, he goes, he still called me Jack. At that time, he's Jack. You and I did something that night that will outlive us both. Like, the memory of that match will be alive and well after both Taker and I are dead and gone. And I think that's a real testament, to what we accomplished that night. But that next day, when I was in so much pain, I was really lagging. I mean, he stayed with me throughout that whole day, and we watched that match together. We sat together in catering, and it's the only time I remember this ever happening. I've been around a lot. When that match was over, our eyes just kind of glued there. We're not paying attention to anybody else. And that match ended, and the entire catering area stood up and gave us a standing ovation. Never seen it before, never seen it since, and I shared that moment with the Undertaker. When Dominic DeNucci agreed to train me, right, I would go. A local promoter in the New York City area saw a video of me jumping off Danny Zucker's roof, right? So it was a video, it was a home movie. It wasn't so much backyard wrestling. It was a home movie that included a scene of me jumping off Danny Zucker's roof. And I went on his ring crew, which meant that like 2 weekends a month, I would drive down from my college, university in upstate New York, down about probably 300 kilometers. I think it's 200 miles, so 4-hour drive. And I would go to this storage building right where Brooklyn and Manhattan met. And I'm the only guy I've ever heard of who had to set up a ring that was in a storage facility and not in a truck. So I would take every single piece out of the 7th floor storage unit. A ring weighs several tons by myself. Every single piece, and I would load it into a freight elevator, take the freight elevator down, then load it into a truck, and then I would drive it. And if I got the ring set up in time before the fans came in, Dominic DeNucci would work with me, which meant he would twist my body in various ways and test my will to see how badly I wanted to do this. And later on, he wasn't a back patter. He wasn't someone who, he didn't give out praise lightly. And I knew I'd won his respect when he went up to one of his colleagues. He said, "That kid has a ball this big." Never been proven historically. Speaking figuratively, though, he thought I had a lot of courage. And he told me about some guys he was training in Western Pennsylvania, Shane Douglas being like the prize pupil. And then he looked at me, this is the piece of advice, he said, "Don't think you're going to make your living doing this." I absolutely planned on making my living doing that BS. And before he ended up talking to my parents, I can't remember the life of me, whether in person or on the phone. And he wanted me to make a commitment to my parents and to him that I would continue my schooling. And so I always felt like that was one of the great strengths I had, that as crazy as the stuff I did, I was doing some ungodly stuff for very little money, especially when I got to Memphis, Tennessee. And I remember doing the Nestea plunge, backwards off the ring apron in Memphis, cracking my head open with a puddle of blood, and geez, the crowd went crazy. And I think I mentioned, when I was talking about Jerry Lawler, like Memphis Monday, Louisville Tuesday, Evansville Wednesday, Indiana every Wednesday. And Robert Foley, "God damn, Jacko," man, that was some good stuff. Let's do it again tomorrow. And I had to take that bump off the ring apron every single night for a week. And in Evansville, Indiana, where I'm getting paid $25, I take the Nestea plunge, and I remember being so disheartened on the way home because I didn't think I bled enough. I didn't think the puddle of blood I produced was good enough for Evansville, Indiana. So I may seem like I was easygoing, but I was really tough on myself, and I was a perfectionist. Like, I won't watch any match that I've had. I will not go back and watch anything I've ever done. I will not listen. I've never once listened to a match that I commentated. I don't have a single photo of me wrestling. I don't have any wrestling memorabilia, because the truth is, I don't think anything I've done can live up to the expectations that I set for myself. And the only exception to that rule is 3 exceptions: Mind Games with Shawn Michaels, Backlash with Randy Orton, and Hell in a Cell. So those are the ones I can go back.